Bring it on in. Another edition of Picks and Roll here. Yes. Sean Barnard talking about things NBA with the hyper focus on your team, your town, your 76ers who are not in action tonight. We'll be back in action. Sorry, when are the Sixers playing next?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. The Tobias Harris homecoming game, Brace.
That's right. Tobias Harris coming back. And we'll talk a little bit about Tobias because I did see some of the fun stuff that Detroit Pistons fans are saying out there. But we do have to focus on what's taking place in our backyard. I mean, it's not pretty. Across the board, it's not pretty. Putting to the side that the 76ers were able to find a way to win a game on Sunday, which was a huge deal. I know a lot of us weren't paying attention because of the NFL, and that's understood. But the 76ers did win a tough overtime game where they were 8.5-point dogs on the road in Indiana, a team with some promise there. So I'm going to give him a little bit of love, a little bit of credit. And Nick Nurse said that he felt like, hey, 3 games in, we finally reached what we were trying to do as far as toughness and be that a team that, like I said, with the identity of not being pushed around, regardless of not having your 2 big players out there. But with that being said, today, more from practice, and Nick Nurse Nick Nurse did not seem like he wanted to answer any questions. He didn't. The 76ers put a statement out, and Nick Nurse was followed up by a number of people in the media, and he had nothing to add and really just was like done with it. Now, I do want to be upfront. I want to be a little bit on the side of Nick Nurse here because the frustration's got to be paramount.
Yeah.
Plus the fact that there could be fines involved. The league is investigating, so he can't really I do want to put that out there. I do believe that there's probably more to that side of things than what people are discussing at this point in time. But we all want answers. And you know what? Last week, Sean, you and I were talking, and I think you said, I don't think this is days. I think this is weeks.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because there are people that covered a team that were saying, well, it could be Wednesday. We'll see Joel Embiid back out there. And I said, I don't think that this is happening with Joel Embiid. Paul George could be different. I don't know at this point in time. We're not getting anything from the team. Let's start with what is being said at practice today. Your takeaway from Nick Nurse and the way he handled that with the media.
Yeah, so I'm kind of in your boat that I am sympathetic to Nick Nurse right here from the standpoint of I think there's 0% chance that he has any control over this situation, whatever this grand plan is. I don't think Nick Nurse either had an opinion on it or is okay with it or whatever the case may be. And to be honest, I think there's a real shot that he just straight up does not know in this situation, that those are larger conversations being had between Joel Embiid and the organization and the doctors and whoever else is in those meetings here. So I do feel bad for Nick Nurse to the extent as he is the guy that constantly has to face the music, speak to the media, and give opinions on stuff that it isn't the right place for him to give his actual opinion on, is really my thoughts there. As far as Joel and Paul George, I do think they're very different conversations from the standpoint of we know Paul George is dealing with a legitimate injury. We saw it happen in preseason. This is a normal thing, a normal basketball injury, that he's in that recovery process. For Joel Embiid, and that's why there's currently an investigation going on in the league, is by all accounts, there is no injury. That this isn't anything that he did to himself. There is no re-injuring of the meniscus. They have been private about that if it happened, or even taking it a step farther to say that there is no injury, there is anything here. So it's a bizarre situation. I don't truly know how to feel or what expectations are at this point. I think, which this is a common occurrence with the Sixers team, is everything would just be a little better if they were more upfront and direct with exactly what's going on rather than being all shady and weird about it, as is currently the case. But the bottom line is I think we should still be buckled up, and we're at the beginning point of whatever this process and plan is. I don't get the sense that Joel Embiid is coming back anytime soon.
No, that's where I'm at as well. Like I said, with some people that were floating out the idea that we could see him in a Sixers uniform on Wednesday, I just said that doesn't strike me of how this is going to play out. I assume that the Sixers do have a date in mind, though. I do believe that, and I believe that because of how Joel Embiid looks. He looks healthy.
Yeah.
He's out there. He's waving the towel. He got a technical on Sunday. Like he's traveling with the team. So I do think that we will see him, but will it be before Thanksgiving in your mind?
At this point in time, I probably lean no to that question. I mean, I don't there's been nothing to go off based on what the organization has said, and even to pull up specifically today, which for starters, Nick Nurse not only, like, declined questions, but shut down that he wasn't taking any more questions on Joel here. The exact phrasing that we have from it is just, "Joel Embiid and Paul George are out tomorrow versus Detroit. They participated in portions of practice today and will be reassessed later this week." That's all we got. Like, there's no more kind of a conversation, talking points, or really anything beyond that. So, my sense is that, like, the fact we have not seen Joel play in any sort of 5-on-5 to this point, to any real live action in practice, I think we're still at the beginning portions of it. So it's frustrating. It's not ideal, but that's kind of my sense of things, is that we're in it for the long haul.
Yeah, I think so too. And there's a lot of national media members, and let's put them to the side because they're going to say what they want. This is about Sixer fans. This is about people that have been involved with this organization for years now, invested with Joel Embiid. So, like, I don't give a damn about the transparency and what these national media members are going to say. And it's funny because, look, I think their biases come in, their connections. Daryl Morey is very connected with a lot of media members, very friendly. I saw Mike Wilbon say, I get it. I totally get it. When I'm more a Kornheiser who's just absolutely ready to blow a gasket because, like, and so I want to ask you this question. And I know you're going to say, well, what's the other? What's the alternative? But like this is so desperate just to get like just think about this. This is your star player who you just gave a new deal to. And you're not playing him because he can't make it through a season healthy. And it's like, Sean, was it a mistake giving him a new deal? Like, really? Because if this is what we're going to have to deal with year after year, this is sending shockwaves. Like, we can sit here and try and play it out in our minds that it's very surface level. Like, Joel Embiid isn't playing, Sixers team goes out there, ho hum. No, this dude is your leader. This dude is the guy that's looked upon to be a leader, and he's not out there. And the team, like, this absolutely is sending some negative shockwaves through this clubhouse, in my opinion, this locker room, in my opinion. Fan base is not happy. Like, this has a very icky feeling to me. And I
Yeah.
just have to ask you, like, yeah, without giving you the alternative, but giving Joel Embiid a new contract, if this is what we're gonna have to deal with, Sean, I'm gonna look you straight in the eye and tell you it was a mistake.
Yeah, I don't think it's a mistake as far as the new contract side of things. And as far
Why?
as like, so I'll push back. My initial takeaway here is I could not disagree with the phrase more than the phrase that availability is the best ability. I just think that's straight up wrong. You want to sign me up for Paul Reed, who played all 82 games last year, and believe that gives you a better chance of winning a championship than Joel Embiid, who, when he's on the floor every single night, regardless of who else he's sharing it with, he's the best basketball player on the floor out there. It's not ideal that you have to handle him with kid gloves and fight these injury battles, and we've obviously seen how things have gone right now. But to me, I still separate this particular situation with its two separate questions. It's what's exactly happening, and it's how the Sixers are managing it / how transparent they're being. That to me is where things are going south here. Even if the Sixers had approached things at media day head on, said Joel Embiid is not going to play for the next 2 months as he ramps up, recovers from whatever this knee situation whatever's going on, I could live with that, but that's not at all what happened. We have no reports of there being an injury. We just have this weirdness, this ramp up process as we're now about to play game 4 tomorrow, and he's already been ruled out for that. So I still kind of separate the what exactly is the issue and how they're handling it here. Now, like, I don't think there's a world where Joel's ever going to be, playing them like 82 games in a season or anything like that. It's kind of the downside of his body and what you deal with. But for me, I still think you go to battle with getting that top end talent, because when you look down the list of alternatives, what's better? Trading him for a haul of draft picks, that doesn't help your scoring or anything on the floor when actually trying to be in win now mode, which they currently are. I think you got to ride with it and take a chance and just hope you can have a little bit of luck that he stays healthy. So it's not ideal, but I don't think they have a better option.
No, see, we've been in this position before in other sports, and it goes into the be careful what you wish for, where it's like, well, what's the alternative? What, draft? No, I don't know what the alternative is. I do know that this is not getting the job done, and this will continue to be the standard year in, year out for Joel Embiid. And I just don't see that that's a positive for this team / fan base, because he is supposed to be the guy. I get it,
Yeah.
Sean. He is the best player out on the floor. No offense, buts about. I don't have to tell you how much I love JoJo, but it's time. It is time. If this is how it's going to be dude, he's not going to play for 2 months to start the season. And then when he comes back, that's the best part about this whole conversation. It's like, oh, well, he's going to be good to go. And we're going to have him from here on out. We don't know that.
Sure.
DeJounte Murray broke his hand in the first game of the season. He's done for 6 to 8 weeks. Anything is possible. I just don't see this as being a success, a way of going about business. And truth be told, this is a desperate move. And it's not even, his new contract hasn't even started, right? The extent. So
Yeah.
like, dude, you're this desperate right here, right now, to the point that you're not going to play him back-to-backs. He's going to miss a month of the start of the season. And it's like, middle finger to the fans. This is what you get. Like, I don't see this as being the right move. I really don't.
Again, I think a lot of this to me like circles back to just the visuals of it, the optics, the way they're handling it. Like I think that again, not ideal by any means, but I think if they had been concrete, direct, and laid out the game plan straightforward to the public to start this season, we'd probably have a different tone about the entire like way we're having this conversation. And like as far as the alternatives conversation,
let me stop you there. You know what? You know where it started? Joel Embiid opening up his big mouth. That's where it started. That's where it started. Because if Joel Embiid doesn't say that, then we still have in our mind, like, okay, he's coming back. It is what it is. The fact that you are now piling this on as a diehard Sixers fan, and people could say you're whining. I don't care. I've been through this, all right? I've been through the process. I've been through this. I'd ride and die with this team. This is my number one team. So I don't give a damn how you feel. This is how I feel. All I know is for him to come out there and say, I'm not playing back-to-backs in an 82-game season. Oh, by the way, the fact that he does pick up injuries from every single year, and now he doesn't play to start the season. Like, it's all just a big middle finger to the fan. It really is. And if you don't take it as such, that's fine. That's your perspective. Not you specifically, Sean, but a Sixer fan. Me, that's where I'm at. I feel like this is a truly desperate franchise right now that's holding on to a prayer that they can get to March with these guys healthy. Like, and then even, and then you know what's going to happen, Sean.
We're gonna get
the same
floor by the Boston Celtics.
Well, yeah, the same of that, but the same nonsense about the Brooklyn Nets when they had their 3 best players and they never played a game together. They played like 10 games together, and it was like, oh, well, that was the caveat. That was the cop out. Well, they didn't have anything play. Like, it's going to be New Year's Day, and maybe Joel Embiid, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey will play 5 games together. Maybe.
I would take the over for that number, the 5 games there. I think realistically, they probably play like 40-ish games together as a trio, which is not great, but that's, you don't think they reach
by
that?
when? By when?
End of season.
Oh, okay. Whoa. Yeah. I was like, wait, what? Like,
yeah.
No. Okay. Yes. All right. 40 games. And is that enough in your mind?
I would prefer more, but I think 40 is like something. Like that's a real amount of games there. That's half the season. That's kind of the frame of reference for what I have in mind for
What about New Year's Day?
Do they play New Year's Day?
No, I'm talking about how many games do those 3 players play by New Year's Day?
Yeah, I would say I'm more on your side for that. 5 to 10, maybe something like that. Yeah,
Good grief.
But like, I guess all of this circles back to obviously being healthy for the playoffs. Like realistically, that's 7 months away right now. So like, what happens in October? What happens in November? Is certainly not high on Joel Embiid's priorities. Doesn't seem to be by the organizations either. Again, I think the optics are horrible. I think they could handle this significantly better. I would like more answers or direct responses on what the situation is, which they really have not given. But I still kind of understand where they're coming from at the heart of things. And like, as far as this is not it, I hear you. The frustrations with Joel Embiid, I hear you. But I would just push back once again. And what's the alternative? Because the grass is not greener from moving on from Joel Embiid. I do truly feel that way.
I don't know.
What do you trade him for, Brace? What do you get that improves the chances?
First of all, that trade isn't happening per se right now. Like, but I'm saying
illegal,
moving forward,
by the way, because he signed an extension this summer, so it would have to be till next year.
Well, I was saying before the contract was even given to him, and like, believe me, I had no issues with the contract at the time. I want to build a statue of this guy. I want to put his jersey in the rafters. I think he's even if you retired tomorrow, you probably are. But my point is, it's like, dude, this is not the correct way to build a winning program. This isn't like, this team has never got over the hump. And you mean to tell me now that this is the way to go about business to get to that championship promised land? I don't see it. I really don't see this paying off for the Sixers. And it seems like it's blowing up in their face at this point in time. And it's a hope and a prayer that Joel Embiid comes back after having been ramped up for 30 days or whatever it is into the season. He comes back for Thanksgiving, right? Hits his stride, plays well, everything's good, and he doesn't get dinged up. He doesn't pick up a bad knee. We know it's going to happen. We know it's going to happen. I don't know. I just, at this point in time, I say play the guy. Play him. Let's go to battle. Let's enjoy some regular season games, and who knows how it's going to play out. Again, like anything could possibly happen, right? Anything can happen. He can come back January 1 and pick up an injury January 10th. So why not just play him at this point in time? He's healthy. He was just in the Summer Olympics. He looked good for Team USA.
So, would it make it better or worse in your mind? Because again, we don't know what's going on behind the curtain right now. That are not telling us anything. Would it make it better or worse in your mind if it's Joel Embiid saying he's not ready to play right now?
I don't think it really matters much in my, like, when you bring that question to me. No, it doesn't matter to me. I think it's so. My take is this. I don't know if you agree or disagree. I think it's Daryl Morey sitting down with Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid sitting down like, hey, man, we know what it takes. We want to get that NBA championship. That's what it's all about. Like, I got an idea. I got a plan. We're not going to play like the first half of the season, the first 2 months of the season. What do you think about that? And Joel Embiid's mind, he's going, let's go. And then probably Daryl Morey in that same conversation said, we're probably not going to play in back-to-backs. Like, we're going to get this season going. We'll keep it going. We'll keep it afloat. Paul George getting hurt was never part of the process.
Yeah.
I hate that I said that word. But that was probably part of the pitch. Like, we got Paul George, we got Tyrese Maxey. We're going to bring you back to 2 months into the season. Your thoughts? And I think Joel Embiid signed off on it. He's been through it. He wants to win a championship. He knows that he probably is not going to play the amount of games he needs to play to win an MVP trophy. So he's already got his MVP. And I bet you those minds put this idea together. And Daryl Morey just said, let me handle the media, and we'll get you out there on the floor come December.
Yeah, I think some variation of that conversation absolutely happened. Now, like, my direct pushback, and to me, where this all goes south is, if that was a conversation, then walk right to the media and say, we're going to have a concrete
Can
plan.
they, though? Can they with the NBA?
Well, you can say that we have concerns with the knee. He's going to have a reevaluation process. You can't directly say it like that, but like nobody questions when Kawhi Leonard all of a sudden can't play for periods of time, nor should you. I'm not saying that you should be skeptical of things like that, but I'm saying with Joel Embiid, kind of under a similar mindset that if it's not going to have everybody going crazy if there's a knee injury that pops up, that he needs to be out for an extended period of time. That's essentially the normal. So if that's how they had gone about it to start the season off, saying we have concerns about the knee, we're going to be really careful about this, he's going to be out the next 2 months, then that's how things should have gone there. I don't understand like why they're being so vague with things or not having answers. To me, I think a lot of this, like this frustration from the fanboys, from the fan base, the middle finger that you're saying it to the fans, it all could have been avoided if just like the way you go about it. To me, this is a how, not a what type of situation.
But it's their way, right? Like, if
Yeah.
we're honest, it's how they operate.
Sure.
They don't. So again, I'm happy that they were able to find a way to win a game on Sunday. It's just it's very, very, very bare at this point in time, and it's just, you can't even get into the good. You can, right? But I can't get into the good because I have this in the back of my mind. So like, win
45
what?
points from Tyrese Maxey, man.
Great. It was great. And he didn't finish the king of the court that day. I was surprising.
Yeah.
I thought for sure he was going to get that title for DraftKings Sportsbook. We got 4 games in the association. All right. Well, with everything else involving the 76ers, I guess Paul George would be a big question at this point in time. Like, what is your read on that one? He's the same thing. It's kind of like, you know what? No need to rush him back here. He did pick up a knee injury, but he's still good. He's ready to go whenever he's called upon. We have this date XYZ. Or do you think maybe that there's a little something more significant with this injury that they're not leading on?
I think it's a real injury, like something that it's more of a pain tolerance injury than like a structural thing. Bone bruise is like hurt, man. So I think like he's just kind of feeling that. He doesn't seem very worried about it. He went through a pretty strenuous warm up routine before that Pacers game, which he looked pretty sharp in, was moving well, knocking down shots, going through like some real game action type things. So that was nice to see just him out there in Sixers gear and playing basketball was nice. I do think he'll be back fairly in the short term. I don't think there's a reason to play him tomorrow against the Pistons. I think the Sixers team should be able to beat that 0-4 Detroit team without having a Paul George or Joel Embiid there. So I understand that, but I do think maybe Saturday, maybe this weekend, something like that could be Paul George's return. So I think we'll see him rather in the short term.
All right. Let's talk about some big items in the NBA one weekend. Who's impressed you the most? I'll go first. JJ Redick and the Lakers, Sean Barnard.
Yeah.
Good grief. Loving it. I'm enjoying it. And I know that they're 3-1. But the 3 games that I was able to watch, they did win all 3 of those games. And LeBron James going back hands in time. The big question I would have is like, can you count on those guys to play this way throughout the course of 82 games into the playoffs? And it's a very similar conversation we're having with the 76ers and all that. But it is something significant what you've been able to see so far from Anthony Davis, from LeBron James in that offensive system, getting some of the help from the other players. But what has excited you the most? Let me ask you that. Positive on the LA Lakers 4 games in.
Yeah, that was going to be one of the directions I went for my biggest what has impressed me the most so far. I do think JJ has breathed some serious life into that franchise there. I've been really impressed with the way the offense is flowing. It seems very much more clearly built around Anthony Davis rather than LeBron James, which is an intriguing takeaway for me. And AD's been absolutely awesome, leading the league in scoring so far at 32.8 points per game, also 12.0 rebounds. 3.3 assists per game, which is inching on a career high. Would not shock me if this ends up a career high for him in that category. And then the other side of things, we're talking about LeBron saying that he wants to play all 82 games. I do believe in this Lakers team far more than I did coming into the year. But as far as what impressed me the most, I'm going to look right at the team that beat them last night, the Phoenix Suns. The Suns are playing more real basketball than I saw from them at any point during this superstar era. That the ball is moving. Ryan Dunn and Oso Iguodala, their 2 rookies, have been impact players from day one. Dunn especially has been awesome. He was going head-to-head with LeBron on the defensive end last night, knocking down 3-pointers, which was the biggest concern with his game dating back to his time at Virginia, as he was essentially a 0 as a shooter, knocking him down at a legit rate. He looks like he's going to be a guy for this team right away and going to continue to be throughout the season. I think Tyus Jones has been a nice addition there. So the Phoenix Suns kind of emerging as a potential dark horse threat in the Western Conference for me.
Yeah, and they are, as you pointed out, 3-1 on the season, 4 games in for them. The only other team that is undefeated in the West, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Your thoughts on what you've seen so far from the Thunder? No surprise.
Yeah, living up to the hype completely there. That they're just very good, man. They're so deep. Like you look down at like the 9th and 10th man on that team, and they'd be in the 5th or 6th on a lot of rosters across the NBA. Now the Cason Wallaces of the world, our guy Isaiah Joe being in the mix there. They got a whole lot of talent on that team right there. And I do think the Hartenstein addition is notable, just from the standpoint of how they're going to match up with different teams, having that true center. I think Chet Holmgren has taken another stride forward this year. And I do think ultimately when kind of the hierarchy of this team settles, Chet's going to be the number 2, to Shea being the number 1. It's been a lot of love for Jalen Williams, and rightfully so, that he's an incredible talent as well and a guy that's going to be very important. But I think Chet's emerging as kind of the true co-star in a way that's how that team's designed. So I expect that to continue moving forward. And yeah, they're absolutely real deal contenders this year.
Yeah, SGA is still a superstar. You're getting
Yep.
great production from Williams as well. It's deep bench, Caruso in there. I haven't really watched too many OKC minutes, but what's Caruso been looking like? I mean, just still a defensive power out there for the Thunder as well.
Yeah, he's exactly who he is. There was the cool kind of homecoming matchup between the Thunder and Bulls where we saw Josh Giddey and Caruso squaring off a little bit there. It's not like Caruso has had like that moment or that shining, standout game just yet, but he's just, as advertised, one of the best perimeter defenders in the entire NBA, guy who's still capable of knocking down 3-point shots. So he's going to be an important part of that rotation. Very much a piece that could be one of those get them over the edge type guys. So his real importance will be seen later in the season, but he's been just as expected.
Over to the East, 1 weekend to the season, 4 games for the Cavs, undefeated. Celtics as well, undefeated. Paolo Banchero for the Orlando Magic. No surprise. I love the kid. Is he enough though? Do you think he could be that guy that could be that dominant one that just leads the team and obviously is a superstar? We know how good he is, but can he raise his game up to what we just saw yesterday where he went absolutely berserk and got Orlando that dub? Like, can he be counted upon, for a lack of a better example? Almost like a Kobe, right? Like it's his team. Get out the way.
Yeah, I do. I'm buying all the Paolo Banchero stock I can get. And the biggest category where it looks like he's taking a stride forward is his 3-point shooting. There was a whole lot of buzz about that coming into the season from his trainer, Chris Brickley, who spoke about how much work he's put in on it. Looking at the numbers, as a rookie, he shot 29.8% from three. Last year, 33.9% from three. To start this season, 39.1% from three on the most attempts he's ever had at 5.8 per game right now. Obviously, still a very small sample size. We got to see it out through the duration of the season. But if he's knocking down threes at a near 40% rate, that changes his ability as a player significantly. And the number one thing that has stood out to me about watching Paolo at the NBA level is just how physical the dude is, man. That is a big body who likes to use it, that he will bully guys whenever he gets someone smaller on him. And that's going to happen often, considering he's real deal 6'9", 6'10", with like a strong frame to him. So there's a lot of talent on that Magic team as well. I am curious how their full rotation settles when you factor in the Jalen Suggs, the Anthony Blacks, all the guys that they have in the roster that are very important. Jonathan Isaac, Wendell Carter. There's a whole lot of talent there. So we'll see how the roster completely settles. Wouldn't surprise me if they have to do some sort of consolidation trade where you're trading three good players for one kind of great guy to upgrade there. But ultimately, I think Paolo is the guy to run the ship there, and I think that they're going to be a fun team to watch from start to finish this season.
I agree with that. And as I said, 3-1 early start to the season. I guess disappointing from the flip side, from the positive to the negative. The Milwaukee Bucks 1-3 on the season. The Pacers 1-3 on the season. The Hornets had their opening win, and they've lost two straight there. And then into the West, I guess you could sit there with the Nuggets 1-2 on the season as well.
Yeah.
And Memphis 2-2. You know, look, it's way too early to get too carried away here at this point in time. Some injuries are obviously having an effect as well. So Steph Curry's going to be out for a little bit here. That's a tough pill to swallow for the Warriors. Dallas, though, we didn't even talk about the Dallas Mavericks and the way Klay has been playing. Now, has he been performing, even better than what we imagined? And is that sustainable in your mind?
Certainly better than I imagined, and he does look like he's still Klay Thompson, I guess, is the biggest thing here. And to lay out exactly what he's put down so far, he had 22 points in the debut, 19 in the following, and 18 in the third game there. From three-point land, shooting 6 for 10 in the first game, 5 for 12 in the second, and 4 of 11 in the third there. The game's pretty simple for Klay Thompson. That I always think it's interesting when you look at these Golden State Warriors guys that leave. Like, Golden State plays such a unique system where there's so much ball movement, so much player movement where you're moving off ball. Now that he's settling into pretty much the direct opposite of that in Dallas, where it's so much Luka Doncic dribbling the basketball, isocentric, that type of style of play. The game's gotten pretty simple for Klay Thompson. Now you're going to stand in the corner, you're going to shoot an open three when Luka Doncic gives you the ball. That's kind of his role, and I don't expect it to change much from that. So I think he's in a good spot. I do think he can bring something to this team. When you look at what really brought them down last year, it was the PJ Washingtons of the world and guys like that not being quite good enough at hitting from the perimeter when those opportunities popped up. Klay can do that, and it's proven to be able to do that at a high level for his entire career. So we'll see how things go throughout the season. Still have my doubts a little bit about him physically and particularly on the defensive end there, but you got to take the strengths with the weaknesses there. So maybe his scoring is enough to overcome that all.
Nice little segue into what we have going off this evening. 4 games in the association, all numbers courtesy of DraftKings Sportsbook, where you can reach Sean Barnard at dknation.com, doing a bang-up job, and can't wait for some of that more hoops coverage coming our way, especially with the college side of things, Sean. But let's go ahead and fire it up. We still got the King of the Court promotion going on as well. So with that being said, should be a little easier for us. It's funny when you look at the list of names, it's all the big names.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that stood out to me the most is like, yeah, look at all these names. It's no surprise. But 4 games out there. Let's see if we can pick a winner here. Minnesota and the Dallas Mavericks, as we just talked about with Klay, the addition there. 5-point spread for Minnesota at home. 221.5 is our total there. That's a surprising number, Minnesota being favored by that many in my mind. Your thoughts on this one, though?
Yeah, that was my reaction as well, that I would kind of guess this to be closer to a pick 'em or a 1-point spread, something along those lines. I was surprised to see the Timberwolves favored by 5. They haven't blown me away yet this year, and they are 2-1 entering this game. They beat the Kings 117 to 115, which was a good win there. Did lose to the Lakers in their opener, and also lost to or beat the Toronto Raptors 112 to 101. I know Toronto took down the Sixers, but that is not a team that anybody should be writing home about. So none of their victories have particularly stood out. I think they're still figuring out exactly how this is all working with Julius Randle and full, Rudy Gobert obviously being a key part of the action. Anthony Edwards is exactly who he is. So they're a good team there. I'm kind of buying into the Dallas Mavericks for tonight, though. I like the +5, and I think it might be taking a swing at the money line there. Luka Doncic has started the year slow, but he's capable of flipping the switch whenever it kind of feels it in him and gets that stretch there. Would not shock me if tonight's matchup brings out the best in him. I think he's going to target Rudy Gobert pretty heavily on the court as far as getting the switch, calling for the pick, and taking him one-on-one. I feel good about the Mavericks getting the job done, and I've been more impressed with them than the Timberwolves so far this year.
Yeah, I guess the big thing from the point spread perspective is the fact that Dallas played last night
Sure.
and a little short rest. So that's what's coming in from the standpoint of the spread. Still, that doesn't mean anything when this game gets tipped. It's who's the better team at that point in time. And Dallas might be an interesting angle here. I don't know. That's a tough one though. But what does Julius Randle look like in a Minnesota Timberwolves uniform for you this year?
He's been fine. I don't think he's quite settled in yet. And as far as for tonight's game, I do like the over of 7.5 rebounds for the same reason that I'm speaking. That I think Gobert gets played off the court a little bit in this matchup, not one that's particularly great from. So I wouldn't shock me if they play Randall at the 5 a lot more in this matchup than we've seen thus far. I mean, we've seen the Julius Randle experience very quickly on kind of full display here. He's been doing more of the pouting than I expected to be the case,
Ooh.
considering we're only a couple games in. That's been the book on him. That's been who he was in New York, and even dating back to Kentucky, Lakers, Pelicans. You can go through the whole process of who Julius Randle is. I still generally like him and I'm net positive of him as a player. Think he has his shortcomings, but I do think that there is like a role for him on this Wolves team. So it's going to be a work in progress throughout the year. But I think that like his playmaking is a huge advantage over something that Cat didn't fully have. So they're playing through him as kind of a secondary creator for stretches. We'll see how it fully fits together. It's going to be the long view for how this ultimately plays out there. But I'm kind of still neutral on Randall, I would say.
All right. Next game up on the card, only 4 to speak on, but the Nuggets and Brooklyn Nets and no Ben Simmons. Oh, lower back management. You hate to see it. Nuggets 5-point favorites, 219 is our total. I saw Ben, he has more fouls than he does shot attempts. And there was that one video that's been circulating where it was a nice pick. He steals the ball, gets it back, and is just still scared at the moment. Just insane what has happened to his career mentally. But he's getting the night off, and Denver's a 5-point road favorite in Brooklyn, 219. Your thoughts?
I kind of don't think Denver should be 5-point favorites over anyone here right now. Is kind of my thoughts there. They got some real deal issues with that bench lineup. Russell Westbrook has stepped to the front page of criticism for a lot of that, but I do think the issues are a little bit deeper than him. It's interesting, like when you are a championship caliber team, the way that Denver was just 2 seasons ago, the teams pick off your depth guys. Contavious Caldwell Pope gets a big contract, go down to Orlando. Bunch of other guys, the wheels fall off a little bit. So you're seeing that this next wave has to step up. I think Christian Braun's been good and a guy that I like quite a bit, but there's not quite that much there. Jokic had to put up 40. Like he's had to be in attack mode way more than I think he's really comfortable with. And I think that's going to unfortunately have to continue throughout the season. And by the way, that happened after Jokic directly himself to the media talked about how they don't have a lot of shooters on this team. So he's going to have to shoot a little more, which he's right about. It's always funny, kind of the gamesmanship with that side of things. I think Brooklyn's fine. They're not quite, I mean, they're not going to be good. They're going to be in the running for one of the worst teams in the league, but there's still some competent basketball players there. Cam Thomas is capable of taking over a game on his own on any single night, and he's been a guy who's right in the mix for the leading scorers in the season overall. That's an interesting ticket if you really want to take a chance for him to be the scoring leader this year because he does have that permanent green light there. I think for tonight's game, I'll sit at the +5 just because I think Brooklyn, there's something there. And I think Denver's really figuring out some things, but very easily, this could be the matchup where the Nuggets begin to turn things around.
Let's go to 9-10. Sacramento Kings and the Utah Jazz. Jazz still looking for that first win. Sacramento 6.5-point road favorites. 234.5 is our total.
Yeah, Utah's first off, pour one out for Taylor Hendricks last night. One of the more gruesome injuries that I have seen, and that leg break there. I think Sacramento is very clear cut the better team in this. I don't think they've played up to their standard or what we'll expect to see them so far. I do lean towards this being a matchup where they can take care of business. I've also been underwhelmed by Lauri Markkanen to start this year, a guy that one of my favorite players in the NBA and a guy that I just really enjoy watching play. Hasn't been awesome so far. So if he's not playing well, the Jazz don't really have much of a chance there. I'm going with the Kings and the points on this one and think they got a chance to make this a little bit of a blowout, but not a game that I'm overly excited for.
Yeah, me neither on that one. All right. And finally, the Pelicans and the Golden State Warriors. No Steph Curry for the next 2 games at the minimum. It is a 1.5 spread in favor of the road Pelicans. 217 is our total in this one. Where are we going here tonight, Sean?
Yeah, love the Pelicans in this one. That I do think that Warriors team with no Steph Curry, Buddy or DeAnthony Melton also dealing with his back injuries again, which feel bad
Saw
for
that.
him because disappointing. Really awesome guy and very good basketball player who it does seem like those back injuries are going to be an issue. This is now several years that this has been going on and he's battling through. Hopefully he gets better, but in the short term, I just think the Warriors lack the amount of like legitimate offensive options to generate points. There's going to be a whole lot on the plate of Brandon Pachevsky, Jonathan Kuminga, guys like that. They're going to need to step up. When you look at this Pelicans roster, it's a lot deeper than people want to recognize. I mean, Zion is Zion, CJ McCollum, a legitimate high level player, even a guy like Herb Jones, Trey Murphy. There's some real deal high caliber talents on this team. So I think the Pelicans take care of business and take the victory today. It's clear Zion's still working back into the full form. He did miss the opener with an illness and isn't quite as explosive, or I guess the version of Zion that we hope for, but he's still a very good basketball player who I think has had his flashes still. So sign me up for the Pelicans to take care of business tonight.
Yeah, and Hawkins from UConn is on
Yep.
that squad as well. It's a deep squad. Yeah.
Yep.
So you said Pels tonight?
Yep. Pelicans, sign me up. That's my favorite bet for
Yeah,
the board.
I like that as well. I like that as well. I'm going to stick with that one with you as well on that one. All right, as we always do, let's get out of here on 2. One winner for tonight and a king of the court, if you got that in your mind as well.
All right, sign me up for the New Orleans Pelicans as far as my winner there. I'll go the -125 on the money line there. Won't worry about a 1-point victory, making things worse there. So sign me up for the money line. My king of the court, I'm feeling bold. I'm going with Cam Thomas tonight. I do think that it is a guy who has a permanent green light. There's obviously going to be the trendy candidates with Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic kind of headlining things there, and rightfully so, that they'll definitely be at the forefront of things. But I do think if you want a chance at a little bit of extra juice and a higher payout here, Cam Thomas would be my swing. I think that's a guy who's capable of going for 50 on any given night. He's going to fill up the scoring box score. So sign me up for Cam Thomas.
I'm going to go AD, Anthony Davis.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to go Ant. Let's go with him. And then Dallas. I'm going to go to T. Will. So I'll lay to 5. I think the odd is the number is there for a reason, right? I think it's because of the playing last night and Minnesota back home. So I'll lay to 5. I don't love it. But Ant-Man, I definitely love, and we'll see what he's able to bring tonight as far as king of the court on DraftKings Sportsbook. Sean Barnard, fantastic stuff. A great episode of Picks and Roll for the people out there. Hopefully cash some tickets, and we'll see what happens on the Sixers front tomorrow. Pistons and Sixers. Welcome back to Tobias Harris. You know they're going to – this is the issue. They're going to do a video for him.
Yeah.
You can't boo him.
I agree.
You can't boo him. He's going to get booed, though.
Yeah, I also agree. I am anti-booing Tobias Harris for what it's worth. If somebody should be booed for the Tobias Harris era, it's the front office for handing him the contract. For Toby specifically, he took care of business. He suited up. He did his best. He just simply was written a check that his talent was unable to cash, which is far more indictment on the front office than Tobias himself. So I expect him to get booed, but I don't think that should be the case.
I think he's going to get booed to start, but my only worry is like when they do that video during timeout, and that's when people are like, boo, and that's not going to be a good look for us. But hey, man, people are going to do what they want. You look around all these sporting events, there's just anarchy. No matter who your franchise is, no matter who your fans are, there's always some stupid idiot doing something ridiculous. But we'll see what happens. Sometimes we like to prove people wrong too here in Philly.
You know what the most disrespectful thing Tobias Harris can do tomorrow is, right?
Go off and hit shots and lead them to a win.
I was going to say take a charge. If he takes a charge after going 6 seasons in a Sixers uniform without taking one there, that would be the most disrespectful move he could possibly pull.
You know, Tansy's betting on that to happen. That's the way his brain works. So we'll see what happens there. Sean Bedard, fantastic stuff. We'll catch up tomorrow on another edition of Picks and Roll. Always a pleasure. Good luck on those plays. Be sure to follow Sean and everything he's got cooking right now over at DK Nation, of course, .com. And you can find Sean Bernard at Sean_Bernard1. That's Sean_Bernard1. Sean, always a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Talk soon.
There he is. All right. Once again, you missed anything at FoxPHLGambler.com.